Hello and welcome to Munich as we have landed here in 2026. In 2022, sim racers from around the world joined with media to see the glimpse of the future, Rennsport. And since then, from prototype to alpha to beta and a full console release at the end of 2025, what a journey it has been. But now we're ready to see what is in store for us in the future. Some competition to come here today. Welcome to Munich. And welcome to Munich. Behind me is one of the most legendary cars in endurance racing, the 911 GT1, coming to Rennsport as part of the Endurance Classic Part 1 DLC, alongside the Circuit de la Sarthe. We've got some other great race cars with us too, a Porsche 992.2 generation GT3 Cup car, and of course, a KTM Expo, a race-going version of this, coming to Rennsport soon. But what a journey it has been. From that initial Rennsport summit, drivers giving their input on what they wanted the future of sim racing and esports racing to be. And last year at Sim Racing Expo, we celebrated the launch of Rennsport with a cross-play event. For the very first time, players on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC could compete against one another with the same physics engine. The opportunity for someone to race against the likes of our R1 superstars, maybe on a controller. But that's all for us to look forward to in the future. Today, we're going to be talking to some of our sim racing drivers as well as some influencers in what is a first, a Rennsport Pro-Am race. We're going to break out the Porsche 911 GT1 and go racing at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Two drivers, one of our content creators paired up with one of our pro sim racers, and from there, some strategy I'm sure we will be looking our way through. Tomorrow we got plenty of action, starting with our esports hero stage before we have the Summit Cup. Our influencers go racing across some of the new content coming to Rennsport, and then we'll close out with our esports final and a prize pool of 10,000 euros for the 6 teams that are here today. Let's take a look though at this wonderful venue. We are back here where it all started, and we've got a wonderful circle of esports competition. These are the same rigs that were used at the Esports World Cup last year when the teams went fighting in what was one of the biggest esports tournaments in the world. Gear provided to us by Playseat, Moza, and AK Informatica. And I had the chance to jump behind the wheel yesterday of the brand new GT1 cars at Le Mans. Let's not talk about how it went. I might have got myself disqualified, but that doesn't matter. Tell you what, while our drivers behind us are getting a sense for what this is going to be like, let's go and catch up with some of them if we can. I'm going to start by stealing the driver of the Clementine Cruiser, Robbie Stapleford. Robbie, I'll give you this microphone. First off, great to see you in 2026. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to be back.
How are you feeling? Back here, circle of rigs, R1 competition. Tonight's a bit of fun though.
It's been a while. Last time I was at a LAN event was 2024, so, but yeah, I pretty much got straight in the rig. It felt natural, so yeah, it's good to be back. Looking forward to this Pro-Am race. Let's see how it goes.
What's the official nickname of your car, by the way? Have you come up with anything official?
No, I called it Tiger Bra, but that was 2 years ago, so it's probably past. So
I'm going to steal his teammate, Kaike Oliveira, as well. We'll get an official nickname on his car when we can. But Kaike, I'm very curious how you're feeling right now. Back here in Germany, it's a bit colder than it is back in your native Brazil.
A bit is an understatement, yeah. Brazil back home is like 30 degrees. Here it's minus something, and it's really snowing a lot. So yeah, it's a very stark difference between. But I need to get used to it, and I'm doing actually quite fine. Didn't get sick yet, so but yeah, just feel good, feel ready. Everything's looking good. Just feel confident to push as max as possible.
GT1 cars at Le Mans. Have you done any practice?
No, I love it. I'm looking forward to it somehow to enjoy it. But yeah, it's a good combo. I think it's everyone's going to enjoy it. But nickname for Robbie car, I don't even know which car he's driving. So
The orange car.
the orange car, so big orange machine.
The big orange machine. Let me steal Jack Keithley as well, because Jack, allegedly, you and I are going to be teaming up in this race. Does that make you nervous?
With everything you told me earlier, yes, absolutely. But no, I'll be carrying you. You'll be absolutely fine.
Glad. I'm glad to hear that. GT1 cars at Le Mans, though, is this something you're excited about? It's slightly different from the traditional Rennsport things that you've been competing in.
Not just Rennsport, I'm just happy to drive something other than GT3 for once, what feels like in forever. But yeah, GT1 cars, absolutely love them. I'm a professional viewer of watching them on TV and YouTube and all that. So I think we absolutely find the race.
We're both wrestling fans.
Yes.
Have you come up with our official tag team nickname?
No, I've got lots in mind, but I don't think I can say right now because they might be 18 rated or over. So yeah, I might have to work on that a little bit.
Okay, we'll leave those nicknames to simmer in the imagination. Next up, let's steal a chat with Kevin Ellis Jr. Kevin, I know you just got off a plane and landed with us here.
Yeah.
How are you feeling back here in the Rennsport ring?
I feel well rested. I had a good night's sleep last night. That good I missed the plane, so yeah. No, I'm feeling alright. It should be a good laugh.
Slightly different scenery for you after racing with Virtus Pro last year. Joined up with the ERA Esports crew for 2026. How are you feeling with a brand new team?
Just appreciative to Chadwick for giving us an opportunity to come and race again. Don't know if you ever get another chance to do it. We're all lucky to be in this position, so if it's the last one I ever do, have a bit of fun doing it.
Appreciative of Chadwick. That's a new one for me.
That's a quote.
GT1s at Le Mans. You've done no practice because you've not had a chance to sit into the rigs today. What are you expecting?
Last time I drove a GT1, I think, was a decade ago. So yeah, it's looking good. I feel ready.
Feeling ready. I'll tell you what, we'll let him go off and get ready. There's some other voices that you'll be hearing as we work our way through both today, but also tomorrow. And so you'll have heard those voices. Ewan O'Leary, Lewis McLeod, also joined by Dara Thacker. If we were to do a race, I feel somewhat confident that I might win if I didn't get myself disqualified from that race. These are, like I said, the same rigs that we were using in the Esports World Cup, but this is one of the unique things about Rennsport competition, the fact that our rigs are positioned in a circle, the fact that your competitors are either side of you, and it's a very different experience to be in this position. Experience of LAN events is so important, and so, two people with plenty of experience in LAN events, Lewis McLeod, Ewan O'Leary, over to you.
Cheers, Arjuna. Well, we'll take it regardless. Ewan, obviously, we're here. It's going to be a fun event. We've got 12 rigs, 24 drivers, all to take action in today's race. It should be a bit of a fun one, but we've never seen GT1s, of course. Attendance.
Yeah. I've been I was there in Zurich when this was announced that this
Wow. Okay.
Should be a good race based on what we've heard of the sort of the format, the way they're going to do these driver changes. I don't remember the last time I saw a LAN event where there was driver changes, so that's something to look forward to as well.
Well, Arjuna was hinting that he'll be teaming up with Jack Keithley for the TC Esports team. I've done a LAN event where I've teamed up with Jack Keithley. we were racing at the Nürburgring around the Nordschleife, and he was leading. I crashed their car. It's fine. We don't talk about it. Obviously, today's race, you can see some of the drivers there getting a little bit of a briefing. They'll be taking the Porsche 911 GT1 car that we did see a little bit earlier on in the broadcast, but obviously in the virtual terms. Incredibly different car, as you can see. If you can have a little bit of your CSI Miami zoom on that, you might be able to see who's teaming up with who. Very different car to what we normally drive here on Rennsport. Normally, a lot of these drivers are well versed at driving the GT3s, which we will see out in action tomorrow. This so different.
Yeah, and as Jack was saying there in that interview, quite looking forward to driving something else. And you can absolutely understand that, because we do a lot of GT3 racing. And, you know, I think the drivers are looking forward and indeed want to drive something else. And it just takes such a different skill set compared to a modern GT3. Of course, this car's a lot older, and therefore everything with it comes very, very different as well. So I think they'll enjoy the challenge of this, but hopefully it's a good race as well. I mean, Le Mans is a good racing circuit as far as you know, slipstreaming is concerned and so on. That should make for an exciting race, and it is going to be a relatively long one. So hopefully they'll stay close together, and we'll see a close race. But it's going to be very unpredictable. We don't know quite what's going to happen, of course.
This is not live, don't panic. This is from yesterday or early today, where we're seeing a little bit of the car being thrown around the circuit in the very incapable hands of Arjuna. He was chatting that he probably beat us in a race. Again, I know that you're actually pretty rapid behind the wheel of a car. I mean, this car is it's older than you and younger than me. It came out. It was first raced in 96. So you know, I'm pretty old, but this car is 30 years old. From a very different era as to what from what a lot of the modern cars that a lot of people are driving these days. But I always find these throwbacks to GT1s for me, going back to Group 5 Super Tourers, things like this. I think that's where sim racing really shines, because you have to be pretty capable behind the wheel, which, look at all these wheel movements. You'd think he's midway through a rally stage with some of that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of a corner at Le Mans where you have to do that. I must say. but anyway, that we're only lightly taking the mic. It's going to be fun to see him out there though a little bit later on, and see how he goes. But yeah, it is such a different car to drive. It is very old in that respect, and hopefully it doesn't take off. Pretty sure this is the car that took off all those years ago.
It was the Merc. It was the Merc.
Oh, was it a Merc?
Mark Webber. Was it? I think
Ruined
it was
joke.
Mark Webber behind the wheel. But either way, we'll take a look at the event format so we can get Arjuna's terrible driving off of our screen and see what the situation is. Of course, here today we've got the Pro-Am race, which is what we're talking about. The GT1s taking to the circuit here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, which will be very interesting. I've never seen, obviously, driver swap. Yes, it's not like in sim, the driver swaps in real life, which is way cooler. We've never really had a particularly long race here on Rennsport, at least when it comes to what we've seen in R1 competition. So that'll be something fun and a little bit different for us to talk about. And then, of course, we've got the big show tomorrow, which should start, I think it's about 1 p.m. CET, where we'll be having the Esports Hero stage. And then, of course, the Summit Cup, where we'll have 3 races in that for the influencers to show their way around the circuits and maybe show the pro drivers what's what. Probably not. And then, of course, the Esports final, where we'll see who'll come out on top here, which, look, I'm really excited for. I think it's nice to have that separate. We have a little bit of a fun day and then a little bit more of a serious day, and look, it's good.
Yeah, and it splits it up quite nicely to get some different people in and driving over the course of those different parts of the event tomorrow. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a long show all the way through, but different competitions to split it all up throughout, and yeah, they'll be fighting it out to win the summit. I mean, it's going to be very competitive based on the teams that we've got and the drivers indeed within them. It's going to be pretty competitive. You know, it's just not far off. Yes, it is a bit of a smaller field, as they, only 12 rigs here, and in terms of the pro drivers and so on, there's only about 12 of them there. But it's sort of an R1 quality field, isn't it, as far as who is actually there, if not indeed in the numbers, like what we've seen in some LAN events in the past. In terms of the quality, is absolutely there.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have, again, you mentioned the fact that we have 12 different drivers. We have 6 teams. Those that will be competing out there today, we've got Mouse, of course, they'll be taking around the in the BMW, as we've seen them quite a few. We've got the Rennsport community team, which will be a fun one. That they'll be taking to the circuit in an Aston Martin. You've got the ERA Esports team and Porsche Commander. You'll be shocked to hear which car the Porsche are in. Yes, it's a Porsche. And ERA also in a Porsche. TC Esports for Mercedes, and the BS Plus will be taking the BMW around. Lots of big names that you'll have seen time and time again in R1 competition. Obviously, you've got Darren McCormack who'll be out there, Max Benneker, Josh Rogers, some of the most, I hate the word, but I am going to drop it, winningest drivers in R1, and they'll be some of the ones going to the circuit. Now, there is a little bit of strategy here because, obviously, like I say, we've got a long race. I think it's 12 laps we've got coming up, and you have to split the race basically in half, 6 laps each. So, yeah, your pro driver will do 6, and the influencers that we've got out there, like Dave Gaming, Gamer Muscle, and Arjuna, whatever. Yeah, they'll be taking over and doing 6 laps. But the interesting part is who drives when. The qualifying driver can't start the race.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a very good way of doing it as well, I think, in terms of splitting it up, because it means effectively the grid is going to be a little bit backwards as to what the drivers who are actually going to be starting the race can actually do, which will make it interesting off at the start. There'll be hopefully lots of overtaking. Just see Robbie Stapleford get into his rig there. I wonder whether he'll be qualifying. Felix van Delft has texted me something that I don't necessarily believe, that Robbie Stapleford has never driven Le Mans before. I can't believe that.
No, he must have done VEC.
Exactly. He has to have done it at some point. Or Felix is trying to get me to say stuff on broadcast because he knows that if he messages me, I'm likely to just believe it. But that can't be true. If it is, then they're in big trouble.
There is no way that Robbie never drove Le Mans in either VEC or even Le Mans Virtual when he was at Zancho back in the day. I mean, maybe it's true. Or maybe that's what Robbie's told Felix, and Felix has believed it and then has told you that. And let's be honest.
Do you think
he's not the smartest, so he might not remember.
I was going to say, do you think he's smart enough to do the double bluff?
Oh, no, I just think he doesn't remember.
Okay, well, that's
he's seen straight to chicanes and has gone, I've driven Daytona. I don't know if this doesn't look anything like it.
It's sort of similar, isn't it? It's a bit of a straight, then a chicane, and another straight.
There's no bus stop here, so it's fine.
Yes. Well, yeah, although the chicanes do look remarkably like bus stops, really, here at Le Mans, the Mulsanne. But anyway, trying to see whether, obviously, I don't think qualifying's begun yet, but trying to get a sense of who's actually going to start each of these cars here and see whether anybody goes different. I think what the normal strategy would probably be is to get the pro driver to qualify and then end the race. But we'll see if any of the non-pros do qualify, and maybe finish off the race with the pro drivers coming through the field at the beginning. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know what the right strategy really is, because I don't want to put. Oh my goodness, Cameron Roger! That's his line. That's Arjuna, obviously straight line in the first Mulsanne, which one time with Cam Roger, who's one of the people who will be doing the cameras in game. He was driving down the Mulsanne. Goodness knows what time of night. This is in 2019 at a LAN event. And just drove straight into the barrier. And I don't mean like a barrier on the side of the road. I mean, you know that you've got the tyre barriers that are between that separate the chicanes, so you can't go straight. Yeah. Bam, straight into one of them. Probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Arjuna gave it a go.
Yeah, he did. Even funnier than that other time when somebody crashed at the chicane for another reason, different reason. Can't remember who it was now, but.
I was going to say, anyway. which reason we took. There's so many funny crashes that I've seen in the world of sim racing.
Okay, well, it's one for maybe a late night endurance racing broadcaster, maybe not for right now. But,
okay, we'll keep this above board and professional. What was it? Was it that Jack Keithley said he's got plenty of ideas that are 18 or above, whatever that means, when it comes to his wrestling team name ideas. So yeah, we'll save that one for the. Yes. For the Rennsport After Hours broadcasts, which won't be coming to you anytime soon because we all want to make a career out of this.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. Anyway, it's a funny place to crash. Is the moral of the story, as we know at Le Mans. But there you go. Anyway, it looks like they're just going through the paces of practice at the moment, I believe. Anyway, getting to grips with the rig. You mentioned that you've done a land driver change before. I'm very interested to see how it's actually going to work here and who's going to be quick at it, because the drivers are not paired up necessarily based on sort of who's similar height and whatever, like they would be in real life. There might have to be a bit of fiddling around to change settings and stuff while they're through these driver changes as well, which should be interesting. See who gets through that quickly.
But also, yeah, we've discussed. I mean, let's be honest, Arjuna and Jack. Jack's. I actually don't know how tall Jack is, but I think he's a little bit shorter than me, and Arjuna definitely isn't. So. They're very different in size. You can see them loading into the qualifying session now. So yeah, that's going to be one of the main kind of differences throughout the race as such. Also, let's be honest, there's Dane Warren, Porsche Grand driver. I think it's one of the things, like when it comes to jumping in and jumping out of the rigs, some people are also really fast at it. I can assure you, I am not. I'm pretty fat, and it's hard to get out of them and into them. It takes me a couple of seconds.
I've seen you trying to get out of McLaren GT3 before.
But have you found that video again yet?
I haven't.
Cameron Rogers showed it to you?
No, I haven't found that video yet. Again, but it's worth a watch. That's
for sure. It's probably one of the more embarrassing moments of my life. Not a high point.
It's not that hard to get out of sim rig, though. To be fair, that was difficult. It's not quite as difficult to get out of a sim rig, thankfully.
Well, yeah, no, that is true. I did climb out on all fours, and that was the only way that I was getting in and out, unfortunately. Josh Rogers doing some coaching there, or teasing? I don't know what the dealio is. There. I mean, I will say for your esports drivers, it's a bit. It's all right. More as from the content creator side of stuff. Kind of a good experience to have a pro driver give you some info, give you some help, tease you. I don't know what the dealio is, but mess around.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's going to vary on driver, isn't it? Because I'm not sure Josh Rogers will be doing too much. I think he's quite nice.
Oh no, I get the feeling that Josh Rogers. I think he is a stirrer. I get the feeling that he'll be there. He'll get in your head a little bit. He kind of feels like that kind of guy. He's a nice guy, but they can hear us. No, he's a really nice guy, actually. My paperwork says one of the most successful drivers in sim racing, and just one of the overall nicest. And yeah, it's fine. Did not know they could hear, even though actually I do know they can hear me, because I did just receive a message telling me we can hear you, so that's fine.
Oh right, that's good. Yeah, that's very comforting to know that, isn't it? Especially when they're all stood around without headphones. Normally they've got headphones on, even if we're 10 meters away, they can't hear us.
Let's just pray they're not paying attention.
Yes, well that's normally what saves us, thankfully. So should be fine. But looks like everybody's sort of jumping out of practice now and getting things set up ready for the qualifying session in a couple of moments' time. But yeah, bit of coaching going on. To your point, by the way, about that, it is quite a nice thing to have, isn't it? Coaching you through it. I mean, you're rarely going to get that opportunity anywhere else, are you, for such a pro driver at a level like this, to just give you a few pointers about what you're doing wrong, what you need to do right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just even, just the experience of being in the car with someone who's actually a relatively competent driver. Now, obviously, to be fair, a lot of these creators and members of the community are relatively competent drivers again. Our junior aside, obviously, but there's a lot of competent drivers out there. But still, it's just even having them nearby. You can see them they're, I believe, about to start some of their qualifying. This is Kira that we're on, or looking over the shoulder off. We'll get the in-game footage as soon as we can. And yes, unfortunately, you have just seen the video of me McLaren. That needs to get posted on social media. My goodness, that is a horrifying video.
It also, the thing that makes it worse for you is that it doesn't look very hard.
What about getting out of the car, though?
Oh, very good. But it you make it look well. No, it looks easier than it actually is. It is quite difficult to get out of one of those, but
Thank you.
I'm just trying to save you a bit there.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, it actually didn't work. You kind of made it feel a little bit worse. It's fine. It's fine. So again, those final bits of prep. I think there's a little bit of a delay down there, but obviously we can see the communication happening. Look, I don't know. I'm looking at the entry list. I don't know who my favourite to win is, and I think the reason for that is I actually think the race is going to be probably a bit more odd than what we'd normally expect from from these kind of races, where it's obviously I think it genuinely comes more down to the second driver, the non-pro driver, the influencer, the invite. It's going to come more down to them than it will the pro driver, who will all run round pretty similar on speed.
Should we agree to call them the AMs? Is that fair?
That's much better. Yeah, we'll use
just
that.
to make it quicker for us all. Are they okay? Well, they don't get a say whether they're okay with that. We're okay with it. So that's how it's going to work. I agree. To be honest, I think it is probably going to come down to them. The only caveat I would have with that is that the only difference between this and what a normal R1 race is going to be, where we talk constantly, and we have done over the last few years, about how incredibly small the gaps are, and that does remain true. It always has been really, really close across the board in R1 races. However, before those events, they will have always known, intimately the GT3 that they're driving, and they'll know all the circuits very, very well as well. Whether they'll have the same bank of knowledge heading into this is much more questionable. It's a different style of driving to the GT3. So yeah, obviously their knowledge of the game will definitely help them, but they'll all have that. It's somewhat to a degree how they're going to adapt on the day to the GT1 itself. So yeah, if the gaps are very large after the AMs, then the pros are going to find it difficult to catch up to one another. But I think a few seconds here or there, and there's room for mistakes here, I think, with the amount of sort of new stuff that they're dealing with here.
Yeah, you can see a few of the drivers there. You can see the pro drivers in the rig. You can see the AM drivers standing by the wayside. There's Arjuna will be teaming up with Jack Keithley. I've seen a few drivers that are actually in the rig. So obviously we've got Kaiki Oliveira that's in the rig. I did think that Darren McCormack is not. That means that Gamer Muscle will be in the rig. Robbie Stapleford's not taking to the rig. I don't believe Moritz Lerner I've seen the rig, but I think Max Benneker is. So there is a little bit of a look at Darren McCormack, who we'll be keeping an eye on things. But obviously, we know one of the fastest drivers, at least in R1's competition. I mean, maybe this is a bit more of an even playing field between your pro drivers, because it's a little bit different, but it should be fine. There is Jack Keithley, who'll be behind the wheel. Obviously, you don't want to trust Arjuna with qualifying. But you know what? I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna give him his plaudits. Arjuna's not a slow driver. I actually think Jack Keithley. I think he's got a solid teammate. Jack and Arjuna could win this. Maybe, but maybe they can't because he's on the broadcast.
But that is true. It's going to look rigged, isn't it, if the guy who opens the show also wins the race? Looks like Arjuna just scripted the whole event. There's just so many unknowns, isn't there? I mean, we know what, as you say, Arjuna is a bit quicker than he gives himself credit for in sim racing more generally. And, the problem is for us, we don't quite know the strength of the other AMs, as it were.
Yeah.
We don't know how quick they all are. So that's going to make it very, very difficult for us to predict who's going to win. Because, as you say, the pros are so similar across the board. It does come down to the AMs quite a bit. And if any of them are really lagging behind, then their pro driver is not going to have any chance to recover all that. So, yeah, it's going to come down to the AMs somewhat. And it looks like they're not all going to be driving even at the same time. So it's going to be a real sort of different race for that. A bit of a handicap race, if you like. Somebody starting a bit further behind, having to do all the catching.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as your Bathurst 1000, right? You have your normal series pro driver. Sometimes they'll put them on at the same time as all of the AM drivers who aren't typically behind the wheel of the car, because the pro driver will be a couple of seconds a lap faster around the mountain than your amateur drivers on those games. So it's, like I said, there's different ways of approaching it like that, and that's why I think we should probably see quite a few overtakes. Probably it will spread out quite a bit quite early, I would assume, and then it will come back together when we have the driver swaps halfway through. But the most important bit in an event like this always is keep it on the road. Don't make a mistake. If I would find it unlikely that the team that will win this race will have a particularly major mistake in their camp. I suspect that might not be the case.
Yeah, I suspect that's probably correct. Is that Charlie Collins there with Darren?
It is Charlie Collins, yeah.
That's not game muscle. So
yeah, no, right. Those two will be teaming up. That's it. That's your winning combo.
That is the winning combination if they're teaming up, but that feels illegal.
No, definitely not.
That can't be allowed, surely. News just in from Arjuna, by the way. I don't know if I'm allowed to, well, he's texted us, so I'm going to say it. He says he is going to qualify. They're going to let Jack do a lap, though, to get a feel for the car and then swap. So they're putting the pro in for the start to avoid the chaos, they say.
Which I don't necessarily hate. I think that's fine, and hopefully this should be qualifying underway. You can see top right of the screen. It is 5 minutes and 44 seconds. That feels more like it's probably practice than qualifying, but it does mean that hopefully this show will be on the road and will be underway soon.
Yeah, hopefully we will be. Good for again the drivers to go out and get a feel for it. It is indeed practice here for the next 5 minutes or so, but they're each in a session together this time round. What we were seeing before was just a few people having to go in single player on their own. Now they're underway on the racetrack together, and we'll be able to see a little bit of how these GT1 cars interact with one another over the course of a race distance, or at least a very short little session here. As Josh Rogers stands behind and watches his teammate get on with it here. Maybe they'll swap around for qualifying, but who knows? They haven't declared to us, and they don't have to until they actually get in the session.
And we will do our best to figure out. Charlie is driving, you know. Cheeky. Porsche's got a third entry. They've got Dane Warren. They've got Josh Rogers, and Charlie Collins has jumped behind the rig. We're figuring this out as we're going. It's always one of these fun things with these events. We kind of just go with the flow and see how things unfold. And as you can see, looking over the shoulder here of Dane Warren, the interesting run down the Mulsanne there. I can't remember how. I did actually calculate this last weekend as to how long the Mulsanne was from Tertre Rouge all the way down to Mulsanne Corner. I think it's like 5.6 kilometers, something like that. Obviously, if you break up the chicanes.
Why were you? Why did you do that?
Because I love spreadsheets. No, it's because we were talking about the longest straight. We were doing, obviously, VCA Infinity last week, and we were talking about the longest straight on that. And obviously, that was Fuji, which is 1.5 kilometers. And we were talking about long straights. And then, quite rightly, we were talking about the Duttinger Höhe, which obviously at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. I think that's 3 and a bit. And then obviously someone brought up, well, the Mulsanne, if you remove the chicane, is obviously the longest. And it's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, but you know, can you really say that these days? Because we never use the not chicanes layout. You know, the straights are as long as they are now with the chicanes in. So, yeah. You know,
why not? Let's get rid of them.
Well, I think Le Mans is a lot more interesting with them, if I'm honest. But
I agree.
But there you go. And it's a bit less dangerous as well. I'm not sure it would be so dangerous anymore, but certainly back in the day, it was a good idea to implement the chicanes. Oh, a little bit of side-by-side racing. Kike Oliveira, not sure who that was with, mind, but he's chatting at the moment, and yeah, they're all trying to get a feel for it a little bit. I'm not sure how much these guys will have had experience with these cars. Obviously, we're not there, but it seems like they're getting their first feel of it.
Yeah, I think very little. I get the feeling that Kike Oliveira is trying to back off of a couple of cars here to have a better run going down into the Rennsport. It's also giving on a little bit of information as to what to be looking for, warming up the tyres, heading into those Porsche curves, incredibly fast going through the Porsche curves down towards karting now. Jack Keithley we're looking over the shoulder of Angermeyer now, and down to the Ford chicanes. I hate the Ford chicanes, especially the last one. Hate them. Absolutely despise. Cannot stand.
Wow. I
mean, are they an enjoyable part?
Not the most enjoyable part, but I can think of worse. You know, it could be a lot worse.
Oh, there is a Merc.
Yeah, there are a few. Yeah, well, I thought I was going mad, but I thought I saw a few Mercs. They when you think everything's a Porsche, it all looks very similar, but
Yeah.
but actually they're not, are they really? And so yeah, there you go. So my joke from earlier does work. In fact, there are more Mercs than Porsches, I think. Or is it equal? It's it. No, there are more Mercedes. There you go.
Do you know, I was literally just counting, being like, I can't wait for you to be wrong. But no, you are right. There's 7 Mercs and 5 Porsches. Of course, we'll hope this one. Was it? I genuinely don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a Mercedes that flipped going into.
Probably
into I'm absolutely sure that someone's dropped it in the chat, and I've neglected the information still.
Most of the chat's in German, so they might be able to tell us, but I wouldn't have a clue whether they have done or not, or called us some names. You know, it's hard to tell.
Mark, look, Arjuna says it was the Merc flipping. I nearly called him Mark for a second because I was trying to mix Merc and Arjuna.
And Mark in the car, of course, back in the day.
Yeah.
Arjuna probably remembers watching it.
He says quite. Oh, to be fair, I mean, I was definitely alive when it still happened. So
yeah, but you weren't watching them, were you? Come on now.
No. I actually just think my first memory of motorsport was in the house that I'm currently in, my father's house. I went downstairs, and it was the 2003 Malaysian Grand Prix, and I remember that because Kimi Raikkonen won. And my dad woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go and watch the. Oh my goodness!
Me! Oh!
Do you know what? I saw that coming for quite a while. No, so I went downstairs, and my dad had woken up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, to watch the Grand Prix. And I remember thinking, "You're so boring." And here I am. It all makes sense.
Does he not say the same about you?
No, he's actually quite supportive of my work. I'm like,
oh, well done.
It's fine. We will try and figure out as to which team is who. If they are in the correct numbers, we should be able to figure this out. However, I do feel that is an enormous if.
Yes.
So we will roll with it.
Yeah, I can think of fewer bigger ifs, actually, at the moment. Yeah, we'll try and work it out as we go, but it should become obvious as we go along. They were written on the floor, I could see earlier. So here we go. That's number 10. Who's in that one? Oh, Junior's in number 10. Right, we can go from here. We've got ground zero. Now,
is he supposed to be in number 10? That's the question.
I mean, Jack Keithley was, but Arjuna is now with Keithley. So yeah, that's 1 out of 1. They've started well.
That is correct. So we will do our absolute best to pass on the information to all of you at home. One thing we do know, that Arjuna is qualifying, and this is a lap that I feel we're legally obliged to watch. I would rather watch this lap than the fastest lap in sim racing, which I think you and Arjuna actually commented on one of the fastest laps that I've ever seen in sim racing, which was Josh Rogers at Nürburgring Grand Prix in Gamers 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Gamers 8 or the year after. It wasn't last year.
It was Gamers 8 because Max won. Yeah, because Jeff Rietveld and Josh Rogers killed each other, and Max came through to win. So yes, it definitely was Gamers 8. 23.
Yeah. Wow. 3 years ago. Goodness me. But there you go. Yeah, I mean, they'll be hard pressed to do that again. Although, to be fair, if you've not set a lap here before, technically it is the theoretical best on your first lap. So there you go. We're about to see something we haven't seen for 3 years, only by default.
Yeah. Well, intensity, speed, accuracy, all things you wouldn't attribute to Arjuna's driving, but we are going to navigate the circuit looking over his shoulder anyway. Obviously, this is running down into the first chicane on the Mulsanne. Big braking zone. Hopefully, he won't skip over it like he did in practice. Let's see what the line's going to be like. Not using anything on the left-hand side. Doesn't feel, I'm assuming it might be a little bit bumpy out there, to be fair, on this version. I've not driven this version of the Circuit de la Sarthe, so I don't know. But do you know what? Actually, it's all right.
Yeah, it does look all right so far. maybe a little bit early on the brakes for the first chicane, but I'm being picky, probably. Coming up towards the end of the second part of the Mulsanne Straight. See how he goes through the second part. We didn't see him go through the second chicane when we were seeing him a little bit earlier on. Watch him get the... I'm sure he's looking out on the left-hand side there. Get late on the brakes here. Yeah, maybe slightly too early, but you'd rather go too early, I suppose, than too late and go straight through the corner. He's shaking his head now as well. He's becoming a proper sim racer, look.
Yeah. What was it? It was Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Deutschland, or was it? No, it must have been just the R1 round at Orchard Road. Everyone came through the final corner, shook their head, and then went on to provisional pole position. That's kind of how I feel like our junior is at the moment behind the wheel of the car. Is he's just shaking his head a lot as he gets onto the brakes into the heavy braking zone of Mulsanne corner. Hit the apex there, and I actually think you're doing pretty well at this point, because not everyone's going to be hitting that apex as the throttle is slammed down and he races towards Indianapolis at the same speed that Cameron Roger comes down the 303 on the way to a round of golf with yours truly. And the run into Indianapolis corner. Look, I think Indianapolis, as much as I hate the 4 chicanes, I love Indianapolis. I think it's such a good corner.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I mean it's certainly unique and very tricky.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's my favourite, but there you go. It's been negotiated nicely by Arjuna, and now through Arnage. He's shaking his head again. out of Arnage. He's trying to get the good exit on another long straight. Actually underrated how long this straight is, I believe, and towards the Porsche curves. It's still a very long way, even though it isn't quite as long as some of the ones that come before it. Here into the Porsche curves. Now this is where this car really should come alive, you'd hope, in the curves that bear its name. A little bit tied up on the inside line. Now try and hit these apexes, don't run too far out into the wall there, and there you go, that's nicely done. And now look for this sort of double apex here, staying a bit tight there on the inside, all the way round rather than going double apex and then through the left-hander. It's okay, it's been a clean lap at least. Yeah,
it's a very safe lap, but with the shaking of the head, you can understand that Arjuna might be a bit of a perfectionist. If only could apply that to the craft of commentary. My goodness, over to the penultimate chicane through the final one, and then out of the final corner, and he'll be the second driver to cross the leaderboard, and we'll see eventually who's going to be on pole. But obviously, it being a super pole session, that is it. That is the only lap you get. At the moment, we only have 3 times on the board, so maybe that's actually looking all right for him.
Yeah, maybe it is, and Jack Keefley's clearly just told a good joke because Arjuna's laughing. But yeah, it does look like maybe just getting a time on the board will be the key. Of course, you do just get slowed down, to be fair, in Rennsport, so it's not quite going to be as simple as whoever only gets laps on the board. I think they've just been, a few of them anyway, have just been slightly delayed in actually getting underway here before the beginning. Looking to the left here to see, the right here. Yeah, Charlie Collins is still driving. I don't wonder if he qualified or not.
Yeah, well, we'll find out when we find out what car number he's in. Maybe he swapped out for Josh Rogers for this. So well, either way, we'll figure out what's going on in just a second, because it seems as though they're racing down to the first corner. And, I mean, Ewan, qualifying's over, the race is underway, and it does seem as though car number 7 is the one that's taken over the race lead into the opening corner.
Yeah, very abrupt beginning, and down the other side of the hill, it looks like the car that was qualified, I believe, by Game Muscle, and is now with Josh Rogers in, I believe, anyway, is leading, and perhaps that's no surprise as they come through Tetra Rouge for the first time. Let's see now who gets into the slipstream and how powerful it indeed is going to be as well down the long Mulsanne straight. Now this is the thing with Le Mans racing. It's a long way down to this first chicane, but Rogers already with a pretty big gap.
Yeah, indeed, it is that number 7 car with a big second margin. Rogers taking us down into the opening chicane on the Mulsanne. You can see not too much of a gap though appearing behind. It seems as though second on back remains relatively tight, and excitingly so. It seems as though that's going to keep its run through. Few drivers have dropped off the rear end of the field, but nothing too major it seems. Obviously there was quite the drama there on the start-finish straight.
There's a run towards the second chicane. As we look around for who's in second at the moment, chasing Rogers. I think this is it, isn't it? Well, I don't know who this is actually. In team number 9.
David Cabrera, I think, is the one behind the wheel. Obviously, he jumped out of qualifying for Kyra Angermeyer to take to the wheel. And yeah, you are right, in second position they are.
They're going well for the moment. I'm watching Keithley get on with his work at the moment as well. I'm very surprised, I must say, that so many of the pro drivers have decided to take on some of the laps here. Oh, big dive down the outside there from Team 12, and a shove off the road there as well from that team. I believe that's whoever Robbie Stableford is. I think that is Robbie Stableford, actually, who is starting that car. I don't think he qualified. Steaming down the outside there, but got put in the gravel.
Yeah, trying to use some of that again speed that Robbie Stableford's got to get on after it. BS competition running in the 11 and the 12. The teams, by the way, if you want to run by numbers, just to make it a little bit simpler for you at home, you might need a pen and paper to run this one through. Mouse are running in the 1 and 2. The Rennsport community team are in the 2 and the 3 and the 4. ERA are in the 5 and 6. Porsche Commander in the 7 and 8. And then it's TC Esports in the 9 and 10. BS competition 11 and 12. So if you want to keep your eye on it like that, then go for it. But it does seem as though it is the number 7 Porsche Commander that is leading now by 2 seconds. Joshua Rogers behind the wheel, and the gap is growing.
And you know, clearly has moved down the inside here from the third team. Stapleford round the outside and getting into 5th position, into the top 5. So nicely done. Team 11 and 12 BS competition, so they're going all right at the moment. But yeah, oh dear, they've got a maybe a slow. Oh, everybody's getting the exclamation mark next to their name at the moment, so that's good. But anyway, as long as Rogers can hand over with a big enough lead, and you know the other pros who are getting in later can't catch up in the time that is remaining at that time, then they're looking odds on for an early race victory here, if indeed this sort of gap holds.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is easy, in a sense, it is easy to build some of these bigger gaps in this early stage, but obviously later on when you pass it on from your pro driver to your AM driver, it might make things a little bit more troublesome later on. You can see the lap count top left of your screen, 10 laps in this race, and with that you'll be switching drivers at the end of lap 5. This is the number 10 car. This is Jack Keithley behind the wheel. Obviously we had Arjuna do the qualifying session, so they're currently running in 3rd spot and starting to feel the pressure from the number 2, which is Mouse, which is the car that should have Max Benneker behind the wheel, as far as my entry list has. Whether that is the truth, we'll have to wait and see, but it does seem as though the number 2 is going to work its way onto the podium slot. So Mouse now running in 3rd position.
A nice pass down the inside, pretty easily done on the way to that first chicane, but will there be able to be a response here from Jack Keithley on the way down to that second chicane or not? We'll wait and see again how powerful this slipstream is. These cars are pretty fast in a straight line, it's appeared to me. I don't know whether it's just been a while since I've seen GT3 racing on Rennsport, but it looks like they're going pretty fast on the way down towards these chicanes here at on the Mulsanne. And there's Keithley. Yeah, the slipstream is working kind of well, although he's not able to get back past Benneker there into the second chicane.
Yeah, but obviously one of these things, big rear wings and such that on cars like this, it does make going through those Porsche curves particularly difficult, as you can see the Mercedes there of the number 2, Mouse, Jack Keithley directly behind the wheel. And I don't think that it'll be too long before that number 12 of Robbie Stapleford is knocking at the door for this position. Jack Keithley right over the rear end and even taps the rear end of the now's number 2. Just a little bit of a brush going down there into Mulsanne Corner. A couple of Porsches directly behind. These are the things. So on my list, I have it as Kevin Ellis Jr. I do wonder if that's the car that maybe Charlie Collins might be driving. Because I mean, through the entire pre-show, I didn't see Kevin Ellis Jr. take off his coat once throughout the running. But it does seem as though there is is pretty tight in the fight behind this, as well as this fight as well for third.
Yeah, indeed, back in the mid-pack, but this is a good fight for third at the moment between these two. Good racing, and then a little bit of a gap, and then the field starts to come on behind, as you can see. But yeah, I don't know how cold it is, but you're right, Kev did not take off his coat at any stage. It feels like a bit of a cheat code though to put those two in the same team. I mean, that's 2 pros, isn't it, when everyone else has got an AM, quote-unquote, so it feels a bit unfair, but anyway, I'm trying to work out who the best place of the AMs is at the moment, so we can see sort of which pro is going to work their way up the field in the second part of the race. But it actually seems like most of them have gone for pros starting the race, which is interesting.
Yeah, just get confirmation from Felix van Delft. Actually, he did say that Charlie Collins is in the number 6, which is the one that I was saying. So that is the one that was originally going to be piloted by Kevin Ellis Jr. So Collins has found his way onto the grid somehow and into the number 6 Porsche car, and it is a Porsche that is leading by 3 seconds. The Porsche Commander number 7, 2 laps into the woods, 3 seconds the lead, 8 laps left to go. Purple sectors across the board, big gap that seems to continue to grow. David Sobrero quite able to keep up with the pace of Joshua Rogers, the winningest driver in R1 history, and I mean, deservedly so. He's been absolutely incredible. I don't think it's not got a high percentage of victories. I'm pretty sure that still belongs to Sebi Jobe, but still, to be number 1 on the all-time winners list is pretty impressive. One of the most competitive series we've ever had in sim racing.
Yeah, indeed. You can't say that he's been hiding from the big names in R1 over the years. He's been going up against the best and succeeding for pretty much longer than anybody else. So it's no surprise he's taken to this so quickly, and it's gotten out to a 3-second lead here in this race as well. See how these two decide to work together here. Is it going to be a fight for third? Or indeed is Keithley just going to sit behind Max Benneker here and just let him do the work? Benneker just through the middle of the road. He's expecting to put on a bit of a defence, and there goes Keithley. Very powerful in the slipstream, very high speed towards the first chicane, and he goes straight through into third place, much in the same way that Max did last lap.
Yeah, but I think this is important. You've got to use that slipstream to slingshot you up to the next line. Also, one thing that we all have to remind you of here, it's these might be the pro drivers and all this, that and the other. They have not had ridiculous amounts of practice in this car track combo. Yes, they have probably driven the Circuit de la Sarthe thousands of times in their sim racing careers. These cars are a little bit of an oddity, and they've never seen it in Rennsport as well. And with that combo, basically the only practice that they've had in it really is the brief build-up into the qualifying session, then the qualifying session which they had to obviously at this point pass off to their teammates and then jump in behind the wheel for the race. It's a tricky thing even for some of sim racing's titans.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I think there should be more competitions with such little preparation time for these guys, because it makes it more unpredictable, and I think that's a good thing as a spectator. Anyway, the drivers don't like it particularly, but it is a good thing to see from a spectator's point of view. As we saw on the way towards Mulsanne Corner there, Max Benneker just pushing Keithley towards Mulsanne Corner and staying behind again into Indianapolis. Definitely working together, and they're definitely reeling in the second placed team now as well, which is maybe, I suppose, what they're both aiming for here. Now the gap was just dropping below 3 seconds briefly there for second position just a couple of moments ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's, obviously it's been a great start to the race from Sobrero, and was able to keep within a second of the opening lap to Josh Rogers, of course, our race leader. But Sobrero dropping off by 4.2, potentially back into the clutches of Max Benneker and Jack Keithley. Car number 12, Robbie Stapleford, made some progress in the opening stage. We'll hand back off to Gibber in a little while's time. Of course, when it comes around to those pit stops, a reminder as to how this race works. If you are just jumping in, you might see a lot of numbers there on your screen. Those are the team number, and it is a team race. There's 2 drivers per team. They'll be coming into the pit lane towards the end of lap 5, where they'll be switching drivers all inland at the event. And of course, if you want to know which teams belong to which number, again, Mauser in the 1 and 2, the Rennsport community team, they're in the 3 and 4, ERA 5 and 6, Porsche Commander in the 7 and 8, TCE Sports in the 9 and 10, DS Competition in the 11 and 12.
Yeah, indeed. At the moment makes up this field again, trying to figure out just who's going to be coming through in the second part of this race. But as I mentioned earlier, the amount of pros who seem to have started this race compared to what I was expecting is much higher. As we get battles like this in the early stage of the race between Max Benneker and Jack Keighley. Keighley just in front. There's part of Team 10. Benneker, sorry, in Team 2. There's Josh Rogers though. He's clearly taken to this car very quickly in the Porsche, as you'd expect, so he's racing away pretty quickly as well.
It does make you wonder what's going to happen when it comes to some of the other teams that are maybe a little bit further down, like for example the second of the DS competition team. That's the one that's in the number 11, running in 9th position, I believe, is Miguel Bento behind the wheel. He passed off to Kaiki Oliveira, who did the qualifying session, and Kaiki Oliveira was a rapid driver, and when you consider all these cars being passed off to their counterpart, who's in the best spot? And I think that is not a particularly easy question to answer. We do have some relatively solid driver lineups out there. I mean, say about the number 6 being, number 11 being Kaiki Oliveira, the number 5. I think that is Game of Muscle behind the wheel. Darren McCormack will be taking over, I believe, in the next stint. So curious to see how that one's going to unfold as well.
Yeah, indeed. That's that working together again. Benneker, there's the view in the real world. As he pushes Keighley towards Mulsanne corner, carefully braking zone. Now he's going to be going at higher speed, and they nail it pretty much bang on there. Not really though, getting any closer to Sobrero now. So I'm sceptical about this sort of working together stuff, whether it actually works or not. I think the answer that we've got here is that it doesn't really work. Benneker is now working his way through on the outside line. The slingshot he should have here should get him into the top 3 now, and ahead of Jack Keighley. So there he goes on the outside. Keighley's going to just let him in, and on he'll go. But these two seem very evenly matched so far in this race.
Yeah, they basically swap every single lap, right? They have been running the same pace. I'm sure that won't be too much comfort to Max Benneker, where he gets a tap on the rear end from the number 10 of Jack Keighley. But it was a light tap, just a little rub, nothing major. They are running the same speed. They are keeping themselves very close company at this point in the race. And most importantly, as I was saying earlier, they're not making any mistakes. They're keeping themselves in the running and in contention for this race by the time they pass it off to their respective teammates. For Max Benneker, I have written down that it's Champion Dressing is known around the AC modding community for Jack Keighley. Unfortunately, it is Arjuna. That's fine. That's fine. What if, no, genuinely, if they do win, Arjuna has to interview himself? Isn't that mental?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I want to see the full thing. Off he goes. That would be so good.
I would really like to see him interview himself, but unfortunately I don't think he's going to win this race, so that's a bit of a shame. Just reminding us, by the way, it's at the end of lap 6 for the pit stops, so not quite on halfway. Maybe that's why they've gone with the pros first, because that would give them 60% of the race as opposed to just final 4 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is also his one. I mean, that is if the 10-lap count is correct in the top left. I believe it is. But I would actually think... Huh?
I think we're on lap 5.
It's not. I think you're right. I think we are on lap 5. We will come to this information as soon as we have it. But it says 4 of 10. Maybe we are on lap 4. I don't know, my memory's not what it used to be, mate. And I've seen cars driving around in switch. The only reason why I think we are on lap 5 and we've got with 4 complete is because of the amount of time that these two have switched positions on the Mulsanne, which has been a lot, to be fair.
Well, it's doesn't look like it's going to happen this time into the first chicane, so first time in a little while. This time Keithley not able to get close enough to Benneke and get ahead, so they'll stay as they are. Apart from 5th place, by the way, is getting closer and closer, although it's not quite developing into something major just yet. It is indeed lap 5, by the way. Lap count is a bit slower behind us, but anyway, there's some battles to settle here, coming towards the halfway stage at the end of this lap, and then we'll be on the driver changes next time round as well, which will give us really what the outlook for the rest of this race is going to be. Will Josh Rogers be able to hand over with enough of a gap to just hold on to, or will there be some chasers coming behind?
Yeah, indeed. Like say, that second stint of the race is going to be the big deciding factor and the one to really talk about. Like I said, I think you're absolutely right. That's why you want to use your pro driver at this point in the race. You want your pro driver to be doing the opening stint if it is going to be the one a lap longer than that second stint. You don't want to have that time wasting the second stint. Because also for those pro drivers that are taking over, they have a limited window to make some significant progress. At the moment, it's been a pretty boring Friday afternoon drive for Josh Rogers. Thankfully, he's got the equipment to keep him awake behind the wheel, because these cars certainly will not let you drift off. Imagine driving one of these at the middle of night, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, around here, navigating back markers, maybe in the sopping wet. That is a crazy combo. How was it ever raced?
Yeah, it's remarkable. And glad that we get to go and repeat it years later in the simulator, because that's exactly what it's all about. And as we said before, looking forward to this. As I say, it was there in Germany towards the end of last year. We were talking a lot about this Endurance Classics pack, and it's very much looking forward to it, to be honest, because the cars that we see mostly in Rennsport up to that point anyway, the GT3s and now some of the hypercars that are knocking around as well. We get those in real life these days too, but you don't see these in the real world anymore, racing, but we get to do it in the sim. Hopefully very soon we'll be able to do it in the dark and the rain as well, and that will be the ultimate challenge.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for that. I think that's, I've said it before, when it comes to, mostly towards race circuits, less so even some of the cars, because cars are sometimes really a little more of a niche in that sense, but the race circuits that we have in the modern world, when they become defunct and we never see them again race, the fact that you have simulated versions of them, you can revisit those parts of history and see how everything was, especially in the modern era when circuits can be laser scanned and stuff, and cars can be replicated in the highest of details. It kind of means that when they do fade away from the modern world of motorsport, we actually do get to see them live on. And I say, having a car like this, it is cool. You get to see it at its absolute edge. We are on the 6th lap of running here of the 10, which means we'll be talking pit stop. So the way it's going to work, as far as we're around, I'm going to drive into the pit lane, come to a stop, and someone's going to jump out of the car, as in the rig, and then someone's going to jump in, and then they'll get back going out onto the racetrack, and hopefully we'll done swiftly and
And indeed, well, adjusting all the settings that they might need, move the seat forward or backwards or whatever. Arjuna is going to have to move the seat a mile backwards, obviously, to get comfortable. And I'm sure other adjustments are going to be happening up and down the field. But this is, I think, the most interesting part of the race for me, just to see those pit stops and see how they can all work it out. Because of course there's not been much preparation or whatever for this. It's the sort of thing for an event with a longer lead-in that you might practice quite a lot, but obviously they won't have had the chance to do that really, and they won't quite understand, I don't think, where they need to move the seat to and as to what they have to do through the pit stop indeed.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to rig swaps, like you say, you've got to make sure it's right, because if you set off and you start driving around and the pedals are, you may be a little too close to the pedals, and suddenly you get on that brake, you've got basically no feel, and this is a car which really, really needs that feel around here. Do you remember the last time we were in in this room, and is it Nikodem Vishnevsky? He had a bit of an issue with his shoulder. Yeah, I was behind the scenes, talking to probably yourself, definitely Cameron Roger, definitely Dane Baird, and I just heard medical emergency on the stage. And we were both looking at each other, being like, "What? What's happened?" Yeah, a bit of an issue for Nikodem Wisniewski. Thankfully, he's all good now, but hopefully none of that happens in the driver's swaps.
Well, yeah, no. Luckily he's hard and he just put it back in again. It was fine, but yeah, that's not a nice thought. Was that Moritz Lerner there just diving down the inside from a mile away? It was for team number 1 and going straight through at Indianapolis. So into what is, where are we? 6th place now in the field, right at the very end, but unfortunately these guys have lost quite a lot of time to the lead and they've had their pros in. Some of the others will have obviously their pros in next, which will help them in the last 4 laps potentially, although the gaps are relatively large. I mean, nearly a minute back for the teams at the back.
Into the pit lane comes Josh Rogers, so we'll see the number 7 pull its way in, as Michael Volk will be taking over the wheel of the car. Somewhere there's the slow down, the pit speed limit, and Josh Rogers has navigated his way into that. Taking the headset off, that's it. You got teammates. It's like obviously in real world, your teammates have got to like come in, do your belts up and stuff like that. In this, it's your teammates helping you find your box by one. That was a bit messy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Look at the speed he's climbing out.
Well, they do seem to be on a timer. There seems to be some service happening in the game as well, which is yeah. There you go. Oh, there you go. It's a nice pit animation. Don't run them all over, and that gives them just a little bit of time. So there's no rush really for this driver swap. They've just got to get themselves comfortable. It seems that they're similar height because there doesn't seem to be too much fiddling around going on there. Bit of chat between the two, and how's the pressure, by the way? I'm not sure I'd like to take over from Josh Rogers, having just he'd been leading the race for a while and having that pressure on me. But there you go. Out we go.
I'm not going to lie, I've never wanted gloves more in my life than if I was taking over one of these rigs and it was someone who didn't use gloves. You know what I mean? Like I don't want someone's sweaty hands left on the rig. You can see Charlie Collins and Kevin Owens Jr. were teammates. You can see in the background there, Collins and Kevin Owens Jr. climbs in to the wheel. A little bit of a mismatch in the team there. You can see they've battled time and time again when it's been obviously Charlie at Porsche Commander, Kevin Owens Jr. at Apex, and eventually Virtus Pro. Army of cars leaving the pit lane then. We've got the number 3, which obviously was either Dave Gaming or Nico Nuninghoff, and either way they've gone out side by side with the number 12. It seems getting muscled out of the way. She's behind the wheel of that one after stealing the car away from Robbie Stableford.
Yeah, indeed. Often you see side by side at the pit lane like that, and there wasn't space for indeed for them as they came out trying to abide by the white line rule there, but they'll get out of it eventually. And this is where the field is really going to change a little bit now in this latter stage of the race already. The leading gap down to just 3 seconds between those top 2 cars. Maybe there is going to be a twist here in the final 4 laps of this race with these new drivers on the run to the end.
So Dave Gaming is the one behind the wheel here of the number 3, having taken over from Nico Nuninghoff. I think it's Kira who's taken over the wheel from Moritz Lerner as well. Lerner was making such good progress in the number 1 car, but those two switch over by the time they get down into the first chicane on the Mulsanne. And again, for all you Ram drivers, we all know the state of play is just make sure you're hitting your marks, hitting your apexes, making sure you're bringing the car around the circuit. I've got to say, up front, the gap for the race lead has come down quite a bit. Michael Volk's been closed down a little bit by Kaya Angermeyer. The gap's now 3.2 seconds. The battle for the race lead
is potentially ramping up to an exciting finish between those two. We'll see whether we get one a little bit later. For 5th place, we'll continue on as well, as team number 3 and 1 have both sort of made this a 2-driver battle now, and it looks like that might be all they get from this race. Maybe they can catch up to the team 10 further in front of them, but that is quite a gap in front of them as well. It's quite hard to close gaps around here because although it's a very long circuit, Le Mans, there's actually not very many corners, which doesn't help.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the controversial reasons why, you know, people say like their top 5 circuits on planet Earth and things like that. this ain't on my list. I think it has some of the best corners, and I think it has the most iconic. Well, yeah, maybe you can say Indy 5, whatever. It has the most, if not one of the most iconic races on planet Earth. But as a racetrack, it's great. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. It's just being around here by yourself can be a little bit more tedious, and especially when the gaps start to grow. Suddenly, it actually can be really hard to close down because it's a straight line. Everyone's doing the same thing. The throttle pedal is pushed.
Yeah, there's really not much you can do to make the difference. So yeah, I do get that, certainly on your own, but it is great to race these cars around here when you're actually wheel to wheel with someone, especially. Very exciting to have. So it's been a good race for these first few laps. Hopefully an exciting finish coming with the top two, if indeed there can be a fight at the front of the field. But these cars are looking fantastic. Looking towards now just 3 laps to go towards the end of this race, and indeed some gaps starting to separate as these second drivers get in. Some of them part of the AM section, some of them part of the pros, whatever. There are gaps opening and closing throughout, and unfortunately for us, the battle for fifth has gone away within that.
Yeah, and the battle for the race lead as well went from 3.1 to 3.7, so it does seem as though Volt's getting a little bit comfortable behind the number 7 Porsche Coanda car, and the number 9 of Kaya Angermeyer for TCE Sports quite find that speed, but the gap's not really growing, and where one mistake can really open that up. We keep our eye on 5th place in the number 3. I think there was an issue in a return to pit lane for Kevin Ellis Jr. Obviously has taken back over in the number 6 car from Charlie Collins. So those two have returned their way onto pit lane. Not sure exactly what's happened there for Big Kev, but either way, return to pit lane and see what the situation holds. Hopefully we'll be able to see him back out on circuit before the end of the race, but I get the feeling that 12th is probably as good as it's going to get if that is the case.
Yeah, indeed. So, work their way now down towards the first Mulsanne chicane again. You see on the track map quite a big gap between those front 6 and those seconds, or the bottom 6, if you like. A real group for 7th, maybe starting to develop now as some of these drivers go backwards compared to where their first drivers were actually able to get them in towards the first chicane. That fight goes on. I do feel like putting the pro in, though, first time round was probably the right call based on what we're seeing at the moment. But here we go. Here's a nice fight for 7th.
Yeah, and with 2 and a bit laps, 2 and really 3/4 from this point, approaching 2.5 laps left to go in this race. It is the number 12 car. Trevor's behind the wheel, and Robert Stapleford has passed on control over to the likes of Trevor. And now we've got the number 5 here. You can see Darren McCormack looking over the shoulder of the avid tea drinker himself. As Gavin Musser behind the wheel, 3 wide on the run down into the second Mulsanne chicane, and sneaking away all the way through comes, I believe, Kaiki Oliveira in the number 11, making that work for BS competition in that number 11 car. And well, that was confident. Let's go with that.
Yeah, certainly was. And it's the problem, unfortunately, for Oliveira is that the gaps created in front in the first few laps in this race have really been too much to overhaul. But look at this, having a go into Mulsanne corner, late on the brakes, down the inside. Oh, but spins up on the exit. Spins up the tyres when you're on the inside like that. You're so tight to the inside, you've got to be careful getting back on the power again. And he's shaking his head, Gavin Russell. That was a bit of an error, but never mind. Nobody saw it. It's fine.
Someone get a microphone, stick it in his face. Excuse me, I need to turn. Well, clearly on that one, he needed to turn a little bit less. Goodness me. God, that's a throwback back to Katowice and the start of R1. It's an easy mistake to make. I mean, look, these things are pushing 600 brake horsepower and there is no TC. Kaiki Oliveira rounding the outside there. Wasn't even Kaiki Oliveira behind the wheel of that one. I think that might be the number 8 Porsche Coanda that's scooched its way past into Indianapolis onto the outside. There's a few moves coming in the mid-pack into Indianapolis and Arnage, and up towards the Porsche curves they go. Again, gap for the race lead, by the way, has gone from 3.7 back to 3.1 as we ready for the end of the ante-penultimate lap, penultimate one, and then final left to go.
It's too many words for instead of just saying 3 to go.
I completely agree. I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I love it.
Isn't there one for 4 to go as well?
There is. It's the pre-ante penultimate. Isn't that also? It's kind of like one of those ones where you hear it and you go, oh yeah, of course it is.
Well, sort of, but also my first reaction was, isn't that stupid? But,
Yeah, it's easy to say 4 to go.
it literally is so much easier to say 4 to go, but there you go. Anyway, 3 laps to go here. Or is it 2? I've forgotten.
2.
It's,
I'm confused. You're bamboozled.
I know, yeah. Bamboozled with all these long words for 2 to go and stuff. But the gap down for the lead, 2 seconds again. So the press is very much on here. It's already they've already had both their pro drivers there with Josh Rogers and David Sobrero. It's up to the abs, and it is getting a lot closer. I do wonder whether we're going to run out of time to see the finish between those two, or whether this is going to end as it is in a fight or not. Oh dear, that's a bit wide. And getting away with it from 7th place. That was quite lucky.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually think we are going to see a battle for the race lead here, provided that they keep it on the road. That's going to be the important bit. And for the number 9 of Kaya Angermeyer, it's just about kind of keeping calm at this point. That gap is coming down. The chance is getting closer, and there is, of course, 1 lap after this. There is plenty of opportunities around here, and it's getting closer than actually being able to make the move further down. We'll see Shiva lose another spot here to the number 4. I believe, according to my interest, it should be Lino behind the wheel. And I've not seen didn't see Timo Lino appear in any of the in the background footage earlier on, but there might be a bit of contact between the pair of them, of course. Just a brush, but nothing major.
I think I did, but maybe not. Don't know.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah,
Shout out to Timo if he is there.
Well, if he's driving right now, then it would be a bit useless because he can't hear us at the moment. But there you go. Positional change down there in 10th position. And this is sort of a bit more like what we were expecting to see really for the second part of the race. But the gaps, oh dear, that's a big dive. But a good pass in the end. Late on the brakes, but not too late so as to blow straight through the chicane. Although your exit's always compromised when you're on the inside like that. So the position's reversed again straight away.
Yeah, Lino is behind the wheel of the number 4 and does get himself through into 10th position. And I say, so I've got to say, that was a great attempt. I respect it wholeheartedly, and the bravery, and we're getting it again down the inside. Yeah, that was absolutely insane. Clearly, very good control of the brakes as they're getting caught here by the number 6 of Kevin Ellis Jr.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they're so far back, by the way. But Kevin and Charlie Collins. But anyway, some very, very late braking from that 12 car. Although, again, it just compromises your exit when they're on the inside like that. And, of course, giving up the slipstream as well to the driver in behind doesn't help. Into Indianapolis, right round the outside, and straight back through again. So this position's reversed all over again. It's 3rd or 4th time in just this lap they've done that. As they approach the final lap of the race, now being begun at the front of the field.
Indeed, again, it's getting closer, it's getting tighter, it's building up to quite the crescendo on the final lap here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, as it does so many times in real life, as it has done in cars like this before. There's Kevin Ellis Jr. behind the wheel of the number 6, and the target's directly ahead of him. He's got a few positions that he can make up here into the Porsche curves. Out wide goes Chevron, down to final, the last position, unfortunately, there. Picked up the first one. And I do believe there's been a second entry into the pit lane for the number 6 car that Kevin Ellis Jr. and Charlie Collins so willingly pilot around the Circuit de la Sarthe, as a few cars have already begun this final lap of proceedings.
And there it is, 1 second at the front of the field. Are we just going to run out of laps before we see the proper fight between these two? Or is there going to be a last lap surprise here at Le Mans? I don't know if this is the longest race we've seen here on Rennsport that is broadcasted amongst ourselves, or not, but this is the crescendo of quite a long stint here in these cars. 10-lap race here at Le Mans, not a short circuit, and it looks like we might get a grandstand finish to this as well, though. It's just a frustrating gap at the moment. If you're chasing in this scenario, you're just slightly too far behind.
Time ticking down, time running out, and at the moment Porsche go on to continue their hold on the lead here in the Pro-Am race, the build-up to the big event tomorrow. Into the second Mulsanne chicane they go. Whoa! What? Where did that smoke on? I think clipped the curb awkwardly for the number 9 of Kaya Angermeyer and the TCE Sports team. 1 second the gap. Again, it is closing down. I get the feeling you might have been right a little bit earlier on. We might come up a lap short, or maybe there will be a big dive coming down into those final chicanes.
Yeah, maybe your favourites, as we know. Side by side for 10th place, and it looks like Kev has got past all those guys back there and has got into 9th position, which might be where he ends up in this race. Still 1 second as they head down towards Indianapolis. You'd say that into the Porsche curves is probably the best remaining chance of this race now, but he's got to be very, very quick through Indianapolis and Monash to be able to make that a reality. And then it is all down to those final chicanes.
How confident are you going to be on the brakes into Indianapolis? Apex hit for Angermeyer. The gap comes to under a second for the first time in this race since lap number 1 into Arnage, and it goes. It's the Apex again beautifully. Pressure starting to build onto the shoulders of Michael Volk behind the wheel of that number 7 car, your race leader. Only the Porsche curves remain between these drivers and victory here this afternoon.
Just got to not make a mistake here. Absolutely not make a mistake. That's all that can stop or can make this race lead change hands through the double left of these Porsche curves now into the long right. Just looking to fade away from the inside there, double apex, and get it right over the sort of top of that small rise. The gap close, but not close enough.
Well, maybe. We'll have to see. It's under half a second. One final chicane to go. Lights blaring for the number 9 TCE Sports car directly behind. It gets tight as they head their way to the 4 chicane. It does come down to the final moment, but an apex hit once again as they depart the final corner. It'll be Porsche Commanders number 7 Michael Volk and Josh Rogers to cross the line victorious here in the Pro-Am race.
That was a very good bit of defending and a good attack there late on as well to have a look down the inside of that final chicane. That was very, very close, perhaps surprisingly close as well. And yeah, they go on to take the victory in the Pro-Am. Josh Rogers winning again. Can we count that as a win for him? Another one?
Look,
Another one to add to the list?
I'm not putting it into the spreadsheet, but I will still say it was a great drive and honestly great timing. Incredibly close there at the end between Porsche Commander and TCE Sports' lead cars, the 7 and the 9. I mean, what are the chances of that? 10 laps and it all comes down to a couple of tenths of a second across the line.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, over the course of 2 drivers and 10 laps, a very long race here on Rennsport. To come down to that sort of margin is very, very good to watch. A good finish there. Now on the other side is TCE Sports, very, very close. They gave it a proper go. There was Sobrero early in the race, chasing Rogers, trying to keep that gap as close as possible. And that's, you know, that's the thing with this. Both had a part to play there. Both Sobrero keeping it as close as possible, and then obviously Kaya having to try and come through there right at the end and make that pass, but just ran out of time in the end. You get the feeling with one more lap that would have changed.
I think one more lap, and yes, TCE Sports would have been the ones victorious by the end of the race. We can see here the provisional race results. It's the number 7 Josh Rogers, Michael Volk, the Porsche Commander car that was victorious by a tiny margin, just about half a second over the TCE Sports David Sobrero and Kaya Angermeyer. The number 2 car that was Max Beneker and Champion Joe, they finished in 3rd position ahead of number 10, which is Jack Keithley and our very own Arjuna, who we'll be heading down with in just a moment's time to catch up with our race winners from there. And it was a good race. That was very enjoyable. You and I actually, I had a good time.
Yeah, I did as well. You know, enjoying these new cars that will be coming to Rennsport, and enjoying a bit of a longer race on Rennsport as well, because normally it's just been sprint races all the way through of a certain distance, you know, 20 odd minutes at most. That was nearly 40 minutes in length for a proper driver change as well. Maybe a taste of what's to come in the future for races on Rennsport, because, as I say, we have not seen very many long races like that before. Now we get to experience it for the first time here in Munich.
Yeah, and like I say, do love a bit of a driver swap race. It's a bit exciting to see, something a little bit different to see, and good to get themselves involved, not only with the pro drivers, but also with the AM drivers as well. And a very solid race that was won by a very worthy team as well in Porsche Coanda. So you can see there on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see our junior who's catching up with the Porsche Coanda team winner in Josh Rogers. We'll go down to him.
A slightly unusual car, I guess, for you, Josh, but it was you that did the start of the race, pulled away a bit of a gap. How did you feel driving this brand new GT1 car on Rennsport?
Well, I hadn't tried it before or tried the track, so it was definitely a learning experience. Almost fumbled it in the pit stop, but yeah, Michael brought it back in the end, and yeah, it was good.
How does this help prepare for tomorrow? Does it help at all?
It's so different that it doesn't actually, to be honest. Yeah, I'll try and wipe the driving style out of my mind and yeah, come back tomorrow.
We're going to let him wipe that from his mind and steal his teammate. Michelle from Overtake. How much fun was that at the end when you were being chased down by Kaya racing for TC Esports?
Yeah, it was good fun. I mean, I saw all the time and I had to discipline myself to not look at the gap all the time because this makes you very nervous. So I just tried to focus on the driving to just get the car home, and we were also pretty on the edge with the track limits. So I had to manage a lot, but Josh did an amazing job, like handing me the car with a 5 or 8 second advantage. So that was good fun.
And what are your thoughts on this Porsche GT1? Did you drive the Porsche? Did you drive the Mercedes? I should ask. We had two options.
Yeah, we drove the Porsche, and it seems like the Mercedes was a little bit superior maybe in some cases, but we still managed, so all good. No, the Porsche has an amazing sound, obviously, and yeah, drove nicely. Yeah.
I drove the Mercedes, finished in 4th. Congratulations for the win. I'm going to bring the camera over to me because I want to catch up with, well, our TC Esports pair. Let's start with you, David Sobrero, part of the TC Esports lineup, finished 2nd. You started the race as well. It was an aggressive start. I was watching over your shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, no, the start was very poor because I was very scared to lose the car as I didn't practice the start. But yeah, Kaya did a really good job doing pole position for me. But in the first few laps, I was a bit warm and not with the best of the feelings. Then I was feeling more comfortable. But I mean, the rest was very fun and I have no complaints at all. So yeah, I'm happy with P2, I take it.
And let's talk to Kaya because we saw him at the Sim Racing Expo as part of our Creator Cup that we had there. You've had lots of experience on Rennsport. Tell me, what was this GT1 car like?
It's incredible to drive. It's incredible to drive. It's in a low-speed corner. It's a little bit understeering, but in the end, it's so much grip at the exit. It's incredible to drive.
Track limits. How close were you to the 30 incident penalty limit?
Not close enough. I got, I think, 10 left. So, so yeah, at the last lap I pushed hard, but it's not enough to push it. On the out lap I not spun the car, but I shifted in first gear. That was killing the rear. So I got a little bit sideways on exit from the Mulsanne to the hairpin. But yeah, nonetheless, this was the only mistake and started to keep it clean.
Thanks, Kai. We'll see you tomorrow as part of our Summit Cup races that we have. But that's about it for day 1 of our 2026 Rennsport Munich Summit. Join us tomorrow as we return with an action-packed day of esports racing and our creators getting in on the fun as well and trying some new content that you at home will be able to get your hands on the wheel of sooner rather than later. For our team here at Rennsport, for our team here at Munich, goodbye for now. We'll see you tomorrow.